Hello everyone, my name is Vanessa and the name of my channel is called Gnostic Knowledge, and what I am doing on this channel is simply reading from a book, and the name of that book is called Letters and Numbers. And this book is written by a young man by the name of Zachary Hubbard, and you can get your own copy of this book by visiting his YouTube channels, either Gematria Effect News or Gematria Effect Sports. And in the description of each of his videos, he leaves a link for you to purchase this book. The book is $5, the best $5 hands down that you'll ever spend in your life, because the information in this book, in my opinion, is simply priceless. It is priceless. Anyway, the book is in a PDF file format, so when you pay for the book, it comes to you via email. You would save the file to whichever device you're going to use for reading the book. He left the copyright off this book so that you can take it to your local bindery, have it printed into a book for you, for your own personal library. You can print it out yourself, just get the book, read the book, understand the information, share the information. He also wrote a second book, and if you go to his blog page, GematriaEffectNews.com, GematriaEffectNews.blogspot.com, you can also pre-order his latest book called Number Games. This book will come to you via the mail as a paperback book, but if you become a Patreon on Zachary K. Hubbard's channel, you can subscribe for $1 a month and have access to both books, PDF file format, Letters and Numbers, and Number Games. And the books are just amazing. The information is just phenomenal, and I hope enough people in this world wakes up to what is truly being done to everyone. But anyway, I'm going to be reading chapter 13, and so I'm continuing with chapter 13. I've uploaded two videos, part 1 and part 2 readings of chapter 13, and my plan is to read this book as often as possible until I finish the book. There are 733 pages in this book, and believe me, I have not been interested in making a YouTube channel, but I just feel this information is so phenomenal that I hope that by my reading it online, that it will prompt people to understand this information, to share this information, to get this book and read it, because it is that important. Okay, and with that said, I am going to be continuing with chapter 13, and it is called Trumped Rigged Elections and Presidential Assassinations, and I am continuing on page 218 and moving forward. And without further ado, I will begin reading. Okay. Not to be outdone, and following on the coattails of Wag the Dog, in 1998, Bill Clinton would come under fire for the Monica Lewinsky sex scandal, a Jewish woman, and he would send the United States military off to fight in the Kosovo War, where Kosovo is right next door to Albania, the same location the fake war is fought in the film. Again, as a distraction from the unwanted news headlines about sexual related matters. Keep in mind the film released in '97 and is exactly 97 minutes long, which is the same as 1 hour and 37 minutes, not too far off from the Gematria of Washington, D.C., which sums to 137 in ordinal, same as White House in reverse ordinal. For another reminder, the number 137 is the 33rd prime, and both Clinton and sex have gematria of 33. Even better, Monica Lewinsky sums to 97 in reverse reduction when E is counted as 22. And the name Monica Lewinsky also has gematria of 74, just the same as Masonic. Okay, so Monica Lewinsky equates to 97 in reverse reduction, E as 22, and Monica Lewinsky 74 reduction S counted as 10. Beyond the gematria, think about these parallels and the fact that this was truly done to the population of the United States with almost no one blinking an eye. Again, as stated in the Talmud, Goyim are very stupid people, and you can abuse them and they won't take much notice. If you watch the film on a device where you can track the time as it plays, notice what happens at the 33rd second as it begins. Right on the nose, at the second count of 33, the answer to the question, why does a dog wag its tail, comes up. The answer is because a dog is smarter than its tail. In other words, the question reads, why does a Jew wag a Goyim around? And the answer is because a Jew is smarter than a Goyim. Don't forget that in gematria, Goyim equates to 33. Well, they thought wrong because this Goyim has seen through the false Jew bullshit his whole life, and now I'm going to lead the rest of my people to see just as I do so the game can end. As funny as these long noses can be, and Wag the Dog is very funny, their humor isn't worth it. As for the gematria of Wag the Dog, it plays on the Holy Bible, the source of the Kabbalah code, and factors into the most recent chemical weapons false flag in Syria from April 4th, 2017, as well as the one prior, August 21st, 2013. Consider Syria is biblical land, and the mocking riddles are always biblical. Let us now decode the relevant terms. Wag the Dog equates to 153 reverse ordinal. April 4th, 153 reverse ordinal. Gauta, Syria. Now, Gouta, so I'm assuming it's pronounced Gauta, Syria. That equates to 153 reverse ordinal. Holy Bible equates to 153 reverse ordinal. Let us not forget, 153 is the 17th prime, connecting back to Mason and God, where the Masons, standing tall for the moment, think they're on the level. In reduction gematria, Wag the Dog equates to 45 also, matching geometry, gematria, and Holy Bible. I should mention the April 4th, 2017 attack in Syria was referred to in the media as the Syria gas attack, having the familiar gematria of 223. As you'll recall, Masonic has Jewish gematria of 223 and ordinal gematria of 74. And also the Syria gas attack equates to 223 in reverse ordinal. Okay. The April 4th attack came 74 days after Trump became president, or said otherwise, on his 75th day as president. We learned earlier how the number 75 represents the New World Order, as well as the motto, order out of chaos. Also important, and as another reminder, 223 is the 48th prime, connecting to propaganda and hoax in gematria. For a bit more well-managed chaos by the government and media, which are one and the same, you should know that all of Donald Trump's firings have been what I call the apprentice code, where the hit line from the reality TV show was, "You're fired." Not to toot my own horn, but I told my followers this would no doubt be a narrative with Trump as president before he fired anyone, knowing full well how the long noses like to play the people for fools, staging the obvious to mock our existence. On my blog at freetofindtruth.blogspot.com, I have covered each firing up to the time of the publishing of this book, and it is a numerous list as expected. Just as The Apprentice fired someone once a week on the show, he has done pretty much the same while in the White House. For the most remembered of the firings thus far, it was that of James Comey, the FBI director, which couldn't have been any more numerological. Let us now decode just how staged this whole ordeal was, beginning May 9th, 2017, the date of the firing. This day came exactly 147 days after Comey's 56th birthday, which was on December 14th, 2016. At this point, you're familiar with 147 and its relevance to Washington, D.C. So let me show you how the number 56 factors into the equation. Also important, as we decode, keep in mind, all-seeing eye is Masonic terminology, and D.C. is the old Society of Jesus' stomping grounds, and truly still is. So, Washington, D.C. equates to 56 in reduction. President, 56 in reduction, S counted as 10. All-seeing eye, 56 in reduction. Society of Jesus equates to 56 in reduction. Regarding the term all-seeing eye, it also has a parallel to Federal Bureau of Investigation and the list of 133 we learned about earlier regarding the President, White House, and government. Okay, so all-seeing eye equates to 133, reverse reduction, E as 22. Federal Bureau of Investigation equates to 133 in reduction. Speaking of federal, the day of Comey's firing had the numbers to match the gematria of the word. Recall we learned federal as well as Freemason and conspiracy equate to 51, a number matching the date numerology of the firing, May 9th, 2017. So you would add 5 plus 9 plus 20 plus 17, it equates to 51. The date May 9th, written 5/9, is a bit like 59, which is the 17th prime number. In ordinal gematria, FBI equates to 17. Consider that of the Trump stories in 2017, this arguably is the biggest to date. Okay? FBI equates to 17 in the ordinal cipher. What led up to the numerological fallout between Donald Trump and James Comey in the puppet show that took place began on March 20th, which was a span of 51 days before the May 9th firing. On March 20th, Comey in a federal hearing complicated the Trump campaign in a conspiracy with Russia that had to do with sabotaging the Hillary Clinton campaign. What was interesting about this happening on March 20th, which is the 79th day of the year, is that in history, the first head of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, died at age 77 on a date with 79 numerology, May 2nd, 1972, where Federal Bureau in reverse reduction equates to 79, and the agency was established March 22nd, 1935, a date having numerology of 79 as well. A number connected to murder in ordinal gematria, as well as the synagogue of Satan in reduction. Recall the death of Richard Hofstadter, who coined the term conspiracy theory and who died 79 days after his birthday. Speaking of which, March 22nd can be expressed as 22/3, not unlike 223, connecting to the synagogue of Satan in ordinal. If you're not aware, the real purpose of the FBI, just the same as the CIA, has always been to control the masses with fear and intimidation, nothing more. The FBI does not help fight real crime. It is only here to protect the tyrants and to steer the herd. For those of you who are new to my work, I have a history of recording phone calls to the FBI and exposing this reality. Every time I call in to report a crime I am hung up on, proving that they couldn't care less, and now you know why. I also urge you to do the same by calling these fraudulent government agencies so you can see what they are for yourself. Now, let's do the math on these key dates mentioned. So, May 2nd, 72. All right, 5 plus 2 plus 72 equates to 79. 3/22/1935. 3 plus 22 plus 19 plus 35 equates to 79. Don't lose sight of what also stands out about May 2nd, the date of J. Edgar Hoover's death in history. As we learned, government and authority sums to 52, as well as President and White House. May 2nd, 5-2. May 2nd is also the 122nd day of the year, corresponding with Freemason in Francis Bacon gematria and Elohim in Jewish gematria. When Hoover passed, Nixon was president, and Hoover's death came 114 days after Nixon's 59th birthday. January 9th, 1972. There it is again, 59. As we learned, Kiel has gematria of 59 in the Jewish format, and the word Freemasonry in reverse reduction, as well as Hebrew, also sums to 59. One more time, this is why history repeats itself. Plus, as we also know, President of the United States sums to 114. If you count the full span of days, it was 115, connecting to Freemasons, Masonic, and killing, equally as important decodes. For a bit more on John Edgar Hoover, let me show you how his name connected to FBI as well. So, FBI equates to 102 in the Sumerian cipher. John Edgar Hoover equates to 102 in reduction. V counted as 22. Also interesting, if you use simple reduction gematria on his name, it sums to 84 instead of 102, matching United States of America, which has gematria of 84 and 102. As stated before, if you apply this code to U.S. history, you will come to terms with the fact that every detail of it is this way, and it is because this is how the Masonic Mafia operates without exception. This code is not to be taken lightly. It is the operating system always. Always. By understanding the code, it also reminds you what the word history is about. Now you know who he is, or better put, who they are and what they're about. They claim to be serving God, but at the top they're serving Satan. Since we brought up Tricky Dicky, we might as well tie in the wiretap claim with Trump, who in 2017, 43 years after the resignation of Nixon in 1974, or in 74, accused the prior president, a Democrat, of wiretapping his office. Remember, Nixon, a Republican, same as Trump, was busted for supposedly wiretapping the Democratic National Committee, DNC. Not by chance, Trump's accusation against Obama came on March 4th, a date that can be expressed as 4/3, similar to 43, and which was exactly 43 days after he became president on January 20th, 2017. Even better, in Gematria, Richard, and wiretap sum to 43, as does Masonic and other key terms we will learn about later. As we decode, keep in mind that despite Obama being number 44, he is truly the 43rd person to be president. The word wiretap equates to 43. The word Richard equates to 43. And the word Masonic equates to 43. Well, Masonic equates to 43 in reverse reduction, and the name Richard equates to 43 in reduction. Of course, Masonic also has the ordinal gematria of 74, similar to the year Richard Nixon resigned, 74, whose name also equates to 74 in reduction, not unlike the reverse ordinal gematria of Comey, also summing to 74. Prior to being fired, Comey also upset Trump by saying the allegations of Obama wiretapping were unfounded. As we decode the relevant terms, consider the name Comey in light of Donald Trump's hairstyle, which is known as a comb over. Yes, the puppet show is really this stupid, and all made by the long noses to mock the goyim. Okay? Hey, long noses, if you're reading, you're not better, and pretty soon my foot is going to be through the back of your head, along with the rest of the people reading this book, at least the ones who have a pair. The name Richard Nixon equates to 74 in reduction. The word Comey equals 74 reverse ordinal. As for the phrase wiretapping, it has multiple parallels to Donald Trump as well. In satanic gematria, wiretapping and Donald Trump both equates to 523. In ordinal gematria, Donald Trump and wiretapping equals 138. Just the same as the word federal in reverse ordinal. So does the name Paul Manafort, who has been another sore spot for the administration. In satanic gematria, Don alone equates to 138 too. And in light of what Don is, it's no coincidence so many satanic gematria ciphers pertain. Okay, let me reread that. In light of what Don is, it's no coincidence so many satanic gematria ciphers pertain. Okay. I should mention that at this same point in history, it was the law of the land that the feds had the right to have surveillance over the people of this nation, so long as the feds thought someone might be a terrorist. In addition to the puppet show by the numbers, all of these stories are rubbed in our face for a reason, and this no doubt was part of it. For a few more notes on Richard Nixon in light of him not finishing his term, which is also likely the fate of Donald Trump, we should note he resigned August 9th, 1974, the 221st day of the year. As mentioned, this number connects to the Bavarian Illuminati and Trump becoming president on his 221st day of being 70 years old. Even better, Nixon resigned 212 days after his 61st birthday, where White House has reduction gematria of 61, a number symbolizing time, when S is counted for 10, and the man who replaced him, Gerald Rudolph Ford Jr., has a name with ordinal gematria summing to 212. Just another reminder, everything is by the code in U.S. history. For the record, Ford in ordinal gematria sums to 43, bringing us back to wiretap, and his full name in Chaldean sums to 77, reminding us that DC is the G spot. 40 equates to 43 in ordinal. Gerald Rudolph Ford Jr. equates to 77 in the Chaldean cipher. Don't even get me started on Henry Ford, dead in 47 on 4/7, April 7th. If you want some kicks, run the gematria on his name. It's Scottish Rite City, if you know what I mean. At the same time, more on point, I should mention again, there are 147 windows on the White House, and there's a reason the tribute to 147 is associated with the number of windows, in light of it being the city named after the Freemason George Washington. Wow. The word window equates to 74, reverse ordinal. George Washington equates to 74 in ordinal, and George Washington equates to 747 in satanic. Think about how Washington's head is immortalized in Mount Rushmore, along with all the other genocidal maniacs who in the history books are known as heroes. Of course, they didn't pull the name Mount Rushmore just out of anywhere. Mount Rushmore equates to 74, reverse reduction, S counted as 10. The word killing equates to 74 in ordinal, and Masonic equates to 74 in ordinal. At the rate the chump is going, he might earn a spot up there. Imagine it, a big stone engraving of the orange Oompa Loompa sporting his $1 million comb over, emblazoned on the citrus juices of fresh squeezed oranges from his favorite golf courses in Florida. It would all be paid for with our tax dollars too, like the rest of this circus that we're decoding. Now hurry up, good little Goyim, put on your work boots and go hurry off to your job so you can pay your taxes just like it says you will do in the Talmud, all without making a peep about the injustice of it. And that's not me speaking. That instead is what our tyrant masters are saying and have been programming us to think for ages. Again, in the Talmud, it states the Jew isn't to work. that is the goyim's responsibility, and with the labor of the goyim, the Jew is to be taken care of as they have been. Now, to prove to you how tight the Zionist Jews at the top have had the script for the Donalds as president, beyond what has already been shown, all one need to do is revisit the television programming Trump participated in for his entire celebrity life. The list is long, but I'll give you some key appearances Trump made over the years that foretold the story to come. On May 8th, 1997, or 5/8, not unlike 58, 20 years before him taking office, he appeared on Suddenly Susan, where a storyline in the episode was Donald Trump as the president. The main characters even contrive a magazine cover with Donald Trump on the front of the caption. On the front and the caption, "Our next president." The gematria of the phrase in reverse reduction is 88, matching the gematria of Trump and the Republican Party. Our next president equates to 88 in reverse reduction. In reduction gematria, the same phrase equates to 83, matching the gematria of the Donald. Election and leap year, where U.S. elections are in leap years. Our next president equates to 83 reduction. The Donald equates to 83 in ordinal. Election equates to 83 in ordinal. Leap year equates to 83 in ordinal. Winter equates to 83 in ordinal. All right? Even better, the same three-word question has ordinal gematria of 227 and reverse ordinal of 205. In terms of 205, that number connects to all-seeing eye as well as Israel. Recall, the nation of Israel was established by the numbers of the all-seeing eye. As we decode, keep in mind, the phrase from the show was to program the mind's eye of all who watched, which is exactly what the television was invented for. Our next president equates to 205 in ordinal. All-seeing eye equates to 205 in reverse ordinal, and Israel equates to 205 in Jewish gematria. As for this episode coming 20 years before Trump took the White House, the gematria of Rig tells the story, which sums to 20 as well as 47. It's all rigged in D.C. Wow. So rig equals 20 in reduction and rig equals 47 in reverse ordinal. For one last point on the episode, even though there is a lot more to decode, which I'll say for you, so you can have some fun at gematrinator.com, we'll decode Suddenly Susan, as well as the name Susan alone. So, Suddenly Susan equates to 74 reverse reduction, and the name Susan equates to 74 in ordinal. For another example of proving just how tight the script was and is, let us revisit The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air from May 16, 1994. 23 years before Donald, summing to 23 in reduction. Same as the word symbol took the White House. Okay? We'll begin with the title of the show, which connects perfectly with Donald Trump and federal. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air equates to 138 reverse reduction. Donald Trump equates to 138 in ordinal. Federal equates to 138 reverse ordinal. Don equates to 138 satanic. The date of the episode stands out like a sore thumb. For starters, May 16th can be written 16/5, not unlike 165, a number pertaining to the ordinal gematria of Scottish Rite, equating to 165. Better than that is the numerology breakdown for the date connects to 115. Let me reread that. Better than that is the numerology breakdown for the date connects to 115, like Trump taking office with the 115th Congress, and also 134, which has to do with the destruction and collapses. No, which has to do with destruction and collapses, as we'll learn about in the chapter on September 11th. At the same time, as we already learned, Make America Great Again equates to 134 as well. In this particular TV episode, the character Carlton, played by Alfonso Ribeiro, collapses after saying the Donald. Only after Donald Trump walked into their Bel Air home by surprise. At the time Trump won the election, becoming the 45th president-elect, Alfonso was 45 years old, having turned the age on September 21st, 48 days earlier. Don't forget, Donald Trump sums to 48. And don't forget, Donald Trump sums to 48 either, just like Wall. Sadly, none of this is coincidental, but it does serve as a solid reminder that the world is a stage, and the Zionists treat everything this way, scripting it to perfection by the code, the Cabal Code. Wow. So the date, 5/16/1994, you would add 5 plus 16 plus 19 plus 94 equates to 134. 5/16/94, you add 5 plus 16 plus 94, it equates to 115. For another episode that foreshadowed Trump as POTUS, P-O-T-U-S, President of the United States, it came on a TV sitcom called The Job. The episode in focus aired March 21st, 2001, a date with numerology of 45. Okay, so 3/21/2001, you add 3 plus 21 plus 2000, 3 plus 21 plus let me see how he did that right here. Okay, 3 plus 21 plus 20 plus 01 equates to 45. Wow. There we go. In the scene where Trump makes his appearance, a man and attractive female are out to dinner on a first date when the Donald walks into the room, sporting his ladies' love comb-overs. Being the man of the hour, he walks up to the table and asks the gentleman sitting if he is having intercourse with the woman he is on a date with. The man, startled, explains it is their first date. At that moment, Donald bends down and lays a wet kiss on the woman, then leaves his number and tells her to call him. The scene is reminiscent of what was revealed a span of 33 days before the selection, where Donald Trump explains to Billy Bush that because he is a celebrity, he can do whatever he likes with women, even grab them by the pussy. For a moment, even knowing it is all a puppet show, imagine if a black man, Barack Obama, had a story released about him while he was running for president. In light of the way the media, controlled by the false Jews, actively shames black people, the way they would have gone haywire and Obama's reputation would have been destroyed. You must think of these dynamics instead of accepting it the way it is presented as programming. It's the same as how in the week of dozens of allegations against Harvey Weinstein, the Hollywood Jew, for rape, one accusation was made against the rapper Nelly, a black man, and he was arrested the day of. These stories are put out to send messages to the people who absorb them, and let these stories dictate the way they think about things and understand the world. This is how the Zionist Jew controls the mind's eye of the masses, and it needs to stop. Absolutely, it needs to stop. Please understand, there are but a few examples of many that foreshadowed Trump's future. Let me reread that. Please understand, these are but a few examples of the many that foreshadowed Trump's future as the president. For a few more, Donald Trump showed up on the Drew Carey show, set in Cleveland, where Trump had his convention. That was May 14th, 1997, the 134th day of the year. He also showed up on Sex and the City, having reduction gematria of 58, where the plot of the episode was questioning if a 70-year-old man could still get hard. Consider, Trump was 70 years old when he took the White House in the 58th U.S. presidential inauguration. I should mention that episode debuted July 25th, 1999, 17 years to the day of Hillary's GOP convention starting, and it also being the 206th day of the year, the number having to do with bones in the body and Masonic temple. July 25th also leaves 159 days left in the year, a number representing Scottish Rite in reverse ordinal gematria. Even more, Trump made a cameo in the film 2 Weeks Notice, having ordinal gematria of 187, a number you know well, and reminding that Trump's convention began July 18th, 187 days before the inauguration. Tragedy. 187 days before the inauguration, tragedy that was. For another, he showed up in Spin City on the date January 21st, 1998, or 21/1, similar to 211, the 47th prime, where the apprentice has reverse ordinal gematria of 211, and Trump equates to 47, as covered in the same cipher. The Spin City episode was called the Paul Lassiter story, where in reduction gematria, Paul Lassiter sums to 45. At the same time, Spin City in ordinal equates to 115. Even more, the date numerology equated to 139, representing Freemason and America, as well as Jewish state, as we learned. On the subject of 115, Trump also made a cameo on The Rosie Show, October 9th, 1996, a date with numerology of 115 and 134, just the same as when he appeared on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. As you can gather, these patterns are far from coincidental. Instead, it was about foreshadowing what was to come, as is now easily understood. Speaking of which, The Little Rascals sums to 58, and Donald Trump also appeared in that film ever so appropriately. Ahead in the chapter on murder by numbers, it will become understood that these presidents are chosen at a very young age, which is a clear narrative to observe through Bill Clinton, who was born Bill Blythe, which you will learn more about when we get there. On the subject of president in reduction, the title sums to 47. And in ordinal it totals 110, just the same as Zoolander, the film that released September 28, 2001, the day leaving 94 days left in the year. Our number that points right to 147 that Trump also appeared in. Out of all the roles he has appeared in, one of my favorites is Home Alone 2, having ordinal gematria of 88, the same as Trump. The reason why it's my favorite is because you can likely recall when Trump first took the White House, he was home alone because his mail-order bride wanted to stay back in New York. Blame it on the small hands. Go back and look at the headlines if you forgot them. The media was reporting the security detail to protect Melania away from the White House was $150,000 per day, and sometimes more, all paid for with our tax dollars. For one last piece of predictive programming of Trump, Season 11, Episode 17, 11 times 17 equates to 187, of The Simpsons, titled Bart to the Future, was about Trump being the President of the United States. It debuted March 19th, 2000, which can be written as 19/3, similar to the 44th prime number. Better yet, in reverse reduction, the title sums to 88. Similar to the gematria of Trump. On the subject of The Simpsons and Trump, I should also mention what has been foreshadowed for Ivanka, Donald's daughter, in the same television program. The Simpsons episode that debuted October 16th, 2016, titled Treehouse of Horror, 26. Treehouse of Order XXVI, I believe that's 26, showed Ivanka Trump running for president in the year 2028. What is fascinating about this is Ivanka Trump was born October 30th, 1981, meaning she will turn 47 years old just before the first Tuesday of November 2028, when the election for President of the United States will take place that year, November 7th, 2028. As we know, that is an important number to the office, and better yet, Ivanka Trump sums to 47 in reduction. Making matters even more interesting, in the older episode forecasting Trump as president, Bart to the Future, it is the character Lisa Simpson who becomes the first female president of the United States in the wake of Donald, and using the 4 base ciphers, Lisa Simpson and Ivanka Trump are perfect matches. If you take the time to decode, you'll notice each name sums to 47 in reduction, 70 in reverse reduction, 146 in ordinal, and 151 in reverse ordinal. Even further, the Roman numerals added to the title of the episode, with Ivanka running in 2028, XXVII, match the name Trump in 3 of the 4 base ciphers. Both sum to 29 in reverse reduction, 88 in ordinal, and 47 in reverse ordinal. And 47 being most key. And last but not least, the full title, Treehouse of Horror 26, sums to 137 in reduction. The number syncing with Washington, D.C. And these are Roman numerals, XXVII. Okay? So Treehouse of Horror, XXVI, sums to 137 in reduction. The number syncing with Washington, D.C., government and authority. It also sums to 115 in reverse reduction, reminding that her father would win the election less than 1 month after the episode's release, taking office with the 115th Congress, and where Masonic also equates to 115 in reverse ordinal. Even more interesting, it sums to 317 in ordinal, the 66th prime. This matters because November 7th, 2028 is a date with numerology of 66. 11 plus 7 plus 20 plus 28 equates to 66. And the word woman has an ordinal value of 66. As we know, in the time of Trump, there has been much focus on gender, with Donald Trump coming out as being the proud groper-in-chief, and then just behind him, a rash of celebrity males being shamed in the media for physical wrongdoing towards women, including sexual abuse. The first of those names was Harvey Weinstein, just after Hurricane Harvey, and not by coincidence. Instead, it's all part of a well-calculated and devious plot to keep we the people divided and fighting, and ultimately turn humanity on its head. For the record, Donald Trump is also the lone president to have ever wrestled in the WWE, where in WrestleMania 23, the number corresponding with Donald, he took on the 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason Vince McMahon, who is also the owner and operator of the knowingly rigged wrestling league, with rigged being the key word. I'm getting embarrassed just thinking about it. If you want to do a quick web search of the fight between Donald and Vince, you'll notice both men were wearing pink ties. And again, this was WrestleMania 23. In reduction gematria, pink sums to 23. Even better, in Jewish gematria, pink equates to 119, just like Donald. And November 9. Wow. If you've ever seen the film The Number 23, a film that begins on the date February 3rd or 2/3, and with a dog named Ned, there is a scene where it is explained to the viewer how the color pink equates to the number 23. When you watch the film, pay mind to how confusing they make it seem when it is truly a simple equation and very straightforward. In other words, while Hollywood clues the viewer into the truth, they also aim to confuse at the same time, which is what the long noses love to do. Also worth mentioning, it is Jim Carrey who stars in that film, where earlier in his career he played the Riddler in one of the Batman flicks, where, as mentioned, he uses the practice of gematria to code clues of his next act of madness to Bruce Wayne himself. That film was released February 23rd. The Synagogue of Satan equals 223 in ordinal, Masonic 223 in Jewish, and is one I highly recommend you watch if you have not. Pay attention to the different ways the number is coded, from the doors of the buildings, to addresses, to license plates, to book covers, to dog tags, to names and even more. Everything shown in that film is what is done every single day in the world of media, which is operated by the synagogue. At the same time, consider Jim Carrey has been used in the same controlled information outlets to mock the truth on television, teasing people who believe in Illuminati. As a reminder, 223 is the 48th prime, and Illuminati, Freemason, Hollywood, and even Jim Carrey each equate to 48, as does Donald Trump, who had his convention in Cleveland and has starred in almost as many Hollywood flicks as the 33rd governor of California, Ronald Reagan. In that same breath, I might as well show you the gematria of Arnold Schwarzenegger, summing to 223, again the 48th prime, the actor not known for his brains who became the governor of a state that has a population larger than many countries on this planet. It should go to show these people in the leadership positions are just that, puppets. Wow. Arnold Schwarzenegger equals 223 in ordinal. For one last story on Donald Trump, before moving on to the 8 presidents to die in office, I want to visit the significance of the same pitiful man visiting Pope Francis on May 24, 2017, the 144th day of the year. Again, both of these actors in costume in positions of authority are Jesuits, and their birthdays are a span of 187 days apart, the number representing the Society of Jesus, and a number being large and in charge in the federal city-state that is Washington, D.C. As for the two meeting on the 144th day of the year, in ordinal gematria, Jesuit order equates to 144, just like the phrase, "you're fired." It was perfect and most definitely foreshadowing things to come. Let us examine. So, Jesuit order equals 144 in ordinal cipher, and "you're fired" equates to 144 in the reverse ordinal cipher. One of the top headlines out of Trump's meeting with the Pope was Trump giving a lotus flower as a gift titled "Rising Above," having reduction gematria of 58, syncing with how Pope Francis equates to 58 in reverse reduction, and Catholic Church equates to 58 in septenary. Another top story from the same day was Sean Spicer, the PR man for Trump, who I called SS, being out of the meeting, which was a great disappointment for Spicer. Being left out of the meeting, which was a great disappointment for Spicer. A Catholic, Spicer would resign exactly 58 days later. Consider this meeting came precisely 35 days, Catholic equals 35 in reduction, and this meeting came precisely 35 days after Bill O'Reilly met with the Pope on April 19 at the Vatican, which was the same day O'Reilly was fired from Fox News. On the same day O'Reilly was fired, it was 144 days after his September 10th, 2016 birthday, and O'Reilly is Catholic and a Jesuit as well. If you weren't aware, Bill O'Reilly was under fire for sexual harassment at the time, something that plagued him throughout his career, Mr. Lufa, and where in the latest case he reportedly settled for $32 million, an absurd sum. You might recall just before that he was publicly defending Donald Trump's remarks about being a pussy grabber. So it was only fitting that these narratives were tied together. And in case you're not following, the point I am explaining to you is this. Everything on television is scripted narrative. It's scripted narrative by the numbers, period. In truth, Bill O'Reilly simply retired at the ripe age of 67, an age when a lot of people call it quits in the workforce. It is just that he had to go out in a shaming ritual, which is typical for people who work in the industry as agents of propaganda. It's the way the long-nosed tyrants prefer it. Wow. So the name O'Reilly equates to 93. Reverse ordinal propaganda equates to 293 in ordinal. And I hope I said 93. O'Reilly equates to 93 in reverse ordinal. Propaganda 93 in ordinal. Okay. On the subject, both Italy and satanic equate to 67 in ordinal gematria, and the name Bill O'Reilly sums to 67 in reverse reduction, similar to how Freemasonry equates to 67 in reduction when S is counted for 10. No doubt about it, Bill O'Reilly has been a minion of Satan from the day he took to the airwaves. Consider Fox equates to 666 in English extended gematria. It truly is sickening how many of the Goyim, as they're known, couldn't see through this perverse man, and how many New York Times bestsellers he has to date from the supposed liberal establishment, which will be exposed ahead. The mocking was always thick with O'Reilly, and the people who listened were blind, which is par for the course. O'Reilly is another media goon who shamed people looking for 9/11 truth while never blinking an eye at the ridiculous story of a man in a cave being responsible, a lie he sold many times over. While we're at it, I should point out that Vatican, while meeting with Francis, was an appropriate place for a newsman to go out by the numbers. Okay, let me read that again. While we're at it, I should point out that the Vatican, while meeting with Francis, was an appropriate place for a newsman to go out by the numbers, as O'Reilly did. So, the word Vatican equates to 47. Francis equates to 47 in reverse reduction. Vatican 47 reverse reduction. And news equates to 47 reverse ordinal. For another laugh, how about the name O'Reilly's hit show, The Spin Zone? The No Spin Zone. O'Reilly equals 42 in reduction. No Spin Zone equals 42 reverse reduction. No Spin Zone equals 147 in ordinal. If you pay attention, you will see that out of all the numbers the news routinely reports on, it is the number 47 that is king. In fact, it is this number that led me to discovering Kabbalah and Gematria, because I began to wonder if there was something deeper about numbers I was missing out on, simply based on how much this one recurs in reporting. Okay. The word 1 equates to 47 in reverse ordinal. And think about it. And it says, think about how the number 1, is the foundation in terms of numbers. Absolutely. So often I would be watching the news and the stories would transition from something such as 47 pounds of cocaine recovered in blah 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 to an explosion kills 47 in blah blah blah, and then I would flip over to the sports channel and they'd be dropping about a new accomplishment, and the number 47 would be front and center. For no less than 10 years, I asked what it was about the number 47 before I discovered the answer. It was comedic relief to learn that news itself had a gematria of 47. All at once, everything was clear, including why Building 7 on 9/11 was 47 stories tall, with each floor being 47,000 square feet, and the demise being blamed on Osama bin Laden, who George W. Bush, the president, commonly called the cave dweller. Osama bin Laden equates to 47 in reduction. Cave dweller equates to 47 in reduction. Let us now transition to the group of 47s who have croaked in office, all in which have died by the numbers, whether the cause of death was illness or assassination. Okay. The 8 presidents to die in office. Again, the Jesuits, the Freemasons within the Catholic Church, are known for being killers throughout history, connected to a number of high-profile assassinations, including that of Abraham Lincoln. And don't go running off to Wikipedia and taking anything they have to say seriously, such as their page about false Jesuit conspiracy theories, because Wikipedia is 100% owned and operated by the same Masonic network we're exposing. Check the gematria of Wikipedia for starters, and pay attention to the dates captioning photos they use in all their entries. You'll catch on to some very incriminating patterns in no time. As we progress through the list of presidents to die in office, very clear patterns will emerge that will point directly to the infamous Jesuit order, and there isn't anything Wikipedia could ever do to prove otherwise, besides try and distort history like an entity straight out of 1984, which is exactly what they are. Very quickly, let me again remind you of the gematria of Jesuit in relation to Freemason, and the 42 gematria that is represented in the big G in the middle of the Freemason logo. The word Jesuit equates to 42 in reverse reduction. The letter G equates to 42 in Satanic. Freemason equates to 42 in reduction. G equates to 42 in Sumerian. Satanism equals 42 in reduction. S is counted as 10. Before we get to the first president to die in office, I want to talk about the first presidential assassination attempt, which was a failed attempt on the 7th president, Andrew Jackson, when he was 67 years old on the date January 30th, 1835. Emphasis on the year 35, the number connecting to Catholic, and also connecting to JFK, number 35, the last president to die in office at the time of writing this book. The date numerology of the attempt also equates to 84, and as we learned, both Jesuit and the Jesuit order equates, some to 84. A number also connecting to Masonry and United States of America in a big way, as we learned earlier. The date also had numerology of 21, another number representing the gematria of Jesuit. The math follows. Okay, the date 1/30/1835. You add 1 plus 30 plus 18 plus 35. It equates to 84. Jesuit equates to 84 in ordinal. 130, 1835. 1 plus 3 plus 0 plus 1 plus 8 plus 3 plus 5 equates to 21. And Jesuit equals 21 in reduction. The number 44, representing kill in ordinal gematria, also factors into the number 84. The divisors of the number 44 equate to 84, and throughout history you find these numbers paired together. Barack Obama, the 44th president, had an August 4th birthday, or 8-4, and in Jewish gematria the name Obama equates to 84. In the chapter on race war, you'll learn how this contrived puppet name, which is exactly what the name Barack Hussein Obama was truly a tribute to the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, who were both killed by the 44 code. Of course, his name was also a mocking of the two men wrongly blamed for 9/11, Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein. Could it have been any more obvious? Could it have been any more obvious? Oh my goodness. Back on the subject of Andrew Jackson's assassination attempt, it was blamed on Richard Lawrence, who was deemed to be mentally ill. Throughout history, the synagogue has chosen people who aren't in their right mind to become the patsies of their staged events. It is a sick tactic, and an easy one to understand for why it is done this way. For starters, people with a few screws loose are often easily manipulated. And second, because they have a few screws loose, people won't think otherwise when they're blamed. Understand, no one is saying the long noses aren't clever. As for the patsies chosen throughout history, they always have the names to match what they're accused of. In the case of Richard Lawrence, his name sums to 79, matching the synagogue of Satan and murder, a number we are becoming more familiar with. For the record, the number 79 is also the 22nd prime, the number that is the master builder number. In this case, the synagogue are master builders of false and contrived narratives. Alrighty, so Richard Lawrence equates to 79 in reduction. The name also equates to 137, having, excuse me, put my jacket on, I'm getting a little chilly. Okay, the name also equates to 137, having a gematria parallel to Washington, D.C., where the assassination attempt supposedly took place. Okay, Richard Lawrence equates to 137, reverse reduction, H counted as 10 and E counted as 22. Okay? Historians are sure to record he was a house painter, which only goes to show further how the code Historians are sure to record that he was a house painter, which only goes to show further how coded the ritual was. Again, back then the news was contrived by the code, the same one that is in place today. As we decode house painter, recall that in ordinal gematria, president sums to 110, and in the same method, all-seeing eye sums to 119. So I'm assuming he meant 119. Or let me just look it up to be sure. So let me type in president. Nope, he was correct. 110. So, oh, and he said in ordinal. Okay, I missed that. Recall that in ordinal gematria, president sums to 110. And in the same method, all-seeing eye sums to 119. So, house painter equates to 110. Reverse reduction, P is 11, E counted as 22. House painter equates to 119 reverse reduction, H counted as 10, P counted as 11, and E counted as 22. Wow. I recommend you use gematrinator.com to examine the name and details even further, because as a reminder, there is always more, such as how house painter equates to 74 in reverse reduction when H is 10, connecting to Masonic and killing, and how the same job description equates to 52 in septenary and Chaldean, a number important to Kabbalah, as well as the president, White House, government, authority, and more, as we have learned. Oh my goodness. Whew. Also worth mentioning, prior to the assassination attempt, another legendary story about Jackson is from May 6, 1833, when he was sucker punched in the face by Robert Randolph, who was upset about being fired from the Navy by Jackson after being accused of theft, which Randolph contended was a false allegation. What I can tell you with certainty, truth seeker, is this story is entirely bullshit by the numbers, which is so easily deciphered when you know the code. Let us now take apart the date of the jab, the word Navy, and the word punch. It's numerical comedy as we decode. Don't forget that President and Washington, D.C. share gematria of 56, much like the date May 6, or the word Mason has ordinal gematria of 62. So, the word Navy equates to 62 in ordinal. The word punch equates to 62 in ordinal. The date was May 6th, 1983. May is the 5th month, so you add 5 plus 6 plus 18 plus 33, you get 62. And then if you add 5 plus 6 plus 33, it equates to 44. You'll notice that date also had numerology of 44 and was likely foreshadowing the assassination attempt that would come not long after. Also tying in, Jackson was traveling from Alexandria, where the 333-foot tall Masonic temple is built in tribute to George Washington, which we'll learn more about in the chapter on murder by numbers, to Fredericksburg when he took one in the nose. Keep in mind, his nickname was Old Hickory. For more information, please take a moment to look up the letter Randolph supposedly sent to James Madison about his termination, where he mentions boats numbered 38 and 74, numbers both tying to Masonic, as well as boat number 44. The laughs are plentiful, and the same tired jokes carry on all throughout history. Alexandria equates to 44 in reduction. Hickory equates to 44 in reduction. Fredericksburg equates to 74 in reduction. I should mention, Jackson was also reportedly on a steamboat when the punch landed, having a gematria of 147, a number you know connecting to the presidency. Absolutely. So, steamboat equates to 147 in reverse ordinal. On the subject of 44, before we get to the first president to die on April 4th or 4/4, I want to remind you of the 33 day Pope. He was found dead in his bed early September 28, 1978, a date with numerology of 44, after saying he was going to clean up the Vatican Bank, where there was much illicit activity taking place within his Catholic Church. That means his last day of life on this earth was the Jesuit order's birthday, September 27, 1978. The same day he most likely received a heavy dose of arsenic, the 33rd element on the periodic table. Wow. So the date, 9-month, 28 day, 1978. You add 9 plus 2 plus 8 plus 1 plus 9 plus 7 plus 8. It equates to 44. Kill equates to 44 in ordinal. The word die equates to 44 in Francis Bacon. Arsenic equates to 33 in reduction. Arsenic equates to 137, Frank Baconis. Periodic table equates to 119 in ordinal. Periodic equates to 47, reverse reduction. And periodic also equates to 137, reverse ordinal. Periodic also equates to 79 in ordinal. Periodic table equates to 79, reverse reduction. I should mention that arsenic poisoning yields the familiar 187 gematria, corresponding with Society of Jesus, and everything else we have learned about the number. In light of arsenic being the 33rd element and the society being named after him, let us not forget that he said, let me start over. In light of arsenic being the 33rd element and the society being named after him, let us not forget he said to have been put to death at 33. Again, these Masonic tyrants are trying so hard to play God or Elohim, and if decoding the truth about our history proves anything for certain, it is that these people are homicidal maniacs. Homicidal maniacs. Wow. Arsenic poisoning equates to 187 in ordinal. Keep in mind, according to the history books, which can only be trusted so far, I know, Andrew Jackson was an opponent of corrupt banking and worked to shut down the United States' first central bank, known as the Bank of the United States, even though it was really not owned by interests who represented the United States, no different than the Federal Reserve today. Speaking of which, let us examine the parallels in gematria between Federal Reserve and Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Don't forget the Masonic logo. So, Federal Reserve equates to 143 in ordinal. Scottish Rite of Freemasonry equates to 143 in reverse reduction. Federal Reserve equates to 235 reverse ordinal. There are 23.5 degrees, okay, in the composites on the Mason logo. May 23rd or 23/5, the 143rd day of the year. For a bit more gematria knowledge, Bank of the United States sums to 77 in reduction, a number symbolizing power, and 239 in ordinal, the 52nd prime, connecting to the authority, which are not the people in our government, but the people who control the puppets in our government and who have since the start of the nation. In Jackson's final year as president, he did manage to end the central bank. That was in 1837, something that did not re-emerge until 26 years later, 1863. In the time of the Civil War. In terms of history by the numbers, consider what we've consider that we learned both bank and dollar having gematria of 26. Even better, central bank sums to 101, the 26th prime. If you ask me, this all lines up a bit too perfect, along with the rest of U.S. history. The tyrants at the top aren't idiots, and they know sometimes you have to give up a battle to win the war, and they're winning, and winning big, which is a fate that is due to change. Alrighty, so here we go. The death of William Henry Harrison, April 4th, 1841. Moving on to William Henry Harrison, the 9th president and the first to die in office. It was April 4th, 1841, 1 month into his term, or a span of 4 weeks and 4 days, when he was found dead, and having his death blamed on illness. In ordinal gematria, the word ill equates to 33, our number corresponding with arsenic. In case you're not aware, when people die from arsenic poisoning, it is often difficult to tell because the symptoms appear to be that of the common flu. It is for this reason it is used by murderers who prefer to remain anonymous for their transgressions. So the word ill equates to 33 in ordinal. Arsenic also equates to 33, but in reduction. Making matters even more interesting, he died 54 days after his 68th birthday, which was February 9th, 1841. The number 54 corresponds with the Jesuit order, where in reduction gematria the name sums to 54 as follows. Jesuit order would be 1 plus 5 plus 1 plus 3 plus 9 plus 2 plus 6 plus 9 plus 4 plus 5 plus 9 equates to 54 in the reduction cipher. The date, April 4th, is also the 94th day of the year. Our number that when written out as a word, 94, has gematria of 147, matching U.S. President, President of the United States, Freemason, and conspiracy, among other related words. Consider the book 1984 begins on the date April 4th, and the number 84 has much to do with Jesuit, the Jesuit order, and the United States of America. For a new one to add to the list, killing, when the letter K is capitalized, has Frank Baconus gematria of 147 as follows. So yeah, in the Frank Baconus cipher, capital letters are taken into account. So it equates to 47, and K would be 21 in Frank Baconus, and then added by the other numbers, the letters, whatnot. So, as for being 68 years old, that is a number you will come to understand is often found around death. Traditionally, caskets go 6 feet deep and are 8 feet long. The year of his death, in the year 1841, is also fascinating. As we learned, that is a special number to the USA, which began with 13 colonies, and on the flag 13 stars and 13 stripes, where the number 41 is the 13th prime. In ordinal gematria, please recall USA sums to 41, and the word star in reduction is 13. In addition to the deadly numbers already decoded, William Henry Harrison was a name with fateful gematria summing to 118, yet another number of death, and one that is commonplace in ritualistic killing over the centuries. William Henry Harrison equates to 118 in reverse reduction. Death equates to 118 in Jewish gematria. In ALW Kabbalah, his name also yielded the gematria of 2 42:3. Wow. It should be noted that he was the first Whig, W-H-I-G, the first Whig president, the part that would later become the Republicans. As we learned, Republican and Democrat have gematria of 47, a very special number in the nation's capital. Not by surprise, Whig shares the same gematria value in ordinal gematria. So Whig, W-H-I-G, equates to 47 in the ordinal cipher. Whig as a word also has gematria of 187, a fateful number. Beyond that, it sums to 41, matching the year of his passing. It also equates to 93, the number of Saturn, connected to death, judgment, and time, where time equates to 47 in ordinal and 187 in satanic. Wow. So Whig, W-H-I-G, equates to 187 in satanic, 41 in ALW Kabbalah, 93 in Frank Baconis, and the word murder equates to 93 ALW Kabbalah. Adding to the list of fateful numbers was the numerology of the date of death, equating to 67, the number representing blood sacrifice. So the date 4/4/1841, you add 4 plus 4 plus 18 plus 41 equates to 47. Blood sacrifice equates to 67 in reduction cipher. Replacing Harrison Ford after his death was John Tyler, who became the 10th president. The name John Tyler was perfect in gematria terms for assuming the presidency on April 4th. John Tyler equates to 44 in reverse reduction. Wow, these are some wicked bastards. Whew. John Tyler had turned 51 years old March 29th, 1841, 144 hours before the date of the death of Harrison. Oh my God. Recall how the number 51 connects to federal, conspiracy, and more. And at the same time, how the number 144 connects to time and killer. Tyler would die later in history on January 18, 1862. Emphasis on 118, not unlike 118. So like 1/18, 1 representing January, the date 18, not unlike 118. Okay, that date can also be written as 18/1, something like 181, which is the 42nd prime number, the very important number to Freemasonry. Recall, he was the 10th president, and he replaced the 9th. Both numbers... recall, he was the 10th president, and he replaced the 9th. Both numbers, when written out, having gematria of 42. The year 62 also connects with the word Mason. So the word 9, when you write the word the number 9 as a word, it equates to 42 in ordinal. When you write the word 10 out as a word, the number 10, it equates to 42 as well. Wow. The death of Zachary Taylor, July 9th, 1850. 9 years after the 9th president, Zachary Taylor would become the next to die in office, the 12th. It is said he saw the civil war that was coming and was negotiating years in advance to stop the needless bloodshed as he perceived it. According to history, he became ill on July 4th, 1850, after drinking raw milk and stuffing himself full of fruit before dying July 9th. 74, 79, boy. In the chapter on murder by numbers, we'll talk about the deaths of three of the first 5 presidents on July 4th, those being John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, who passed the same day in 1826. So let me back up a bit here so I can understand what I'm reading as well. Okay, in the chapter on murder by numbers, we'll talk about the deaths of 3 of the first 5 presidents on July 4th, those being John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, who passed the same day in 1826, and James Monroe, who passed in perfect coordination with their deaths in 1831, 1,826 days after the passing of his presidential predecessors. So, this is crazy. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died on the same day in 1826, July 4th. And then 1,826 days after their passing, James Monroe dies. Isn't that crazy? 1,826 days after the passing of his presidential predecessors. Wow. Please don't forget that in ordinal gematria, killing and Masonic equate to 74, and the word murder sums to 79. Also summing to the number 79 is Zachary Taylor, who couldn't have died on a more perfect date. In all likelihood, Taylor was poisoned with arsenic, and after battling for a number of days was finished off intentionally, as so many have had done to them in this unnecessarily cruel world. The Masonic murdering dictatorship, where in the case of the United States, it was born out of genocide of the natives. As we decode, it is important to note that Zachary Taylor was 65 years old at the time of his passing, and his name also has reduction gematria of 65. So Zachary Taylor equates to 79 reverse reduction, and Zachary Taylor also equates to 65 in reduction. Okay, so I am going to call it a day for reading, and I will upload another video probably tomorrow sometime, continuing in chapter 13. And I hope you enjoy the reading. I hope you will spread the knowledge, give the video a like and share the video, share the information. And I do hope that you will take it upon yourself to purchase the books that Zachary K. Hubbard has written, Letters and Numbers, and also Number Games. You can get Letters and Numbers by visiting Zachary K. Hubbard's YouTube channels, Gematria Effect News, Gematria Effect Sports. And in the description of each of his videos, he leaves a link for you to purchase the book Letters and Numbers. It costs $5. It is in a PDF file format. But if you visit his page, GematriaEffectNews.blogspot.com, he has another book that you can pre-order, and it will come to you in a paperback format. And you can pre-order the book, and when you get to the page, the first thing you'll see is the advertising for the book. But when you scroll down, you will see the information on how to order the book within the United States and abroad. If you become a Patreon on his channels, one of his channels, you can, at the $1 tier, $1 per month, he will email you both the books in PDF file format. Letters and numbers and number games. Letters and numbers, he intentionally left the copyright off so that you can take the book to your local bindery and have it bound into a book if you like, for your own personal library. But anyway, you guys have a good evening, and I will read again shortly and hopefully continue and finish chapter 13. Thank you. Bye bye.